Chapter 41. Li Luo, Making a Big Profit. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 41. Li Luo, Making a Big Profit. Li Luo, a huge earn, one, of the 3,000 spirit crystals, Lu Yuan kept 500 to absorb and refine his gene chain. The other 2,000 or so were all used to charge the evolution cube. At this moment, the evolution cube once again glowed with a faint blue light, and it was even deeper than the first time. However, the evolution cube's energy at the moment was still insufficient for the body of black iron to evolve. However, Lu Yuan was not in a hurry. He thought about it carefully. Many people had already seen his Geno combat skill. If he progressed in the trainee stage, then his combat skills would be different. What would others think? Why would his combat skills mutate when they were the same transcendent genes? It wasn't a problem that he was a genius, but things like evolutionary genes were too magical. Lu Yuan would never let others know. If others knew that he had the ability to evolve genes, he would be in great danger. Therefore, Lu Yuan thought that when he broke through to rank 1, he would then evolve the black iron body. At that time, he could announce to the world that he had obtained the second transcendent gene. Although a first-grade transcendent gene at stage 1 was powerful, it wasn't as if no one had it. At most, people would just treat him as a super genius. And he could secretly inscribe another gene. At that time, with the support of the two-headed transcendent gene, what level would his strength reach? It was scary just thinking about it. The evolution cube absorbed the spirit crystal, and Lu Yuan himself also absorbed a part of the spirit crystal to refine his gene chain. By the time his body could no longer withstand it, his gene refining had already reached 14%. If others were to find out about this cultivation speed, they would probably be shocked. Lu Yuan planned to keep the remaining 200 or so spiritual crystals. In fact, spirit crystals could be sold for money. However, for genetic warriors, spirit crystals were far more precious than money. Generally, not many genetic warriors would exchange spirit crystals for money. Even if Lu Yuan was so poor, he would not consider selling spirit crystals. After absorbing the spirit crystals, Lu Yuan took a rest and ate something. Then, he moved again to continue hunting fierce beasts. As Lu Yuan's strength increased, his efficiency in killing fierce beasts became higher and higher. Very quickly, his materials filled up the battle rune space. At this moment, the door light was only half lit up. Next, he had to hunt ferals, so he could only sell the materials. The place where they sold the materials was naturally the small market at the exit of the underground palace. It was very difficult to distinguish directions in the underground palace, but fortunately, he had learned about it from the post when he bought the map. There was a kind of grass in the underground palace that had a strong wind-chasing ability. This kind of grass would grow in the direction where the air flow was fast. In the underground palace, although he didn't know the principle, the air had always been good, but the air flow only became faster in the direction of the exit. As long as he could find this grass, he would be able to find the direction of the exit through its growth. Lu Yuan searched in the nearby passageway for a while and soon found a purple grass in the corner. The grass was sticking to the wall and growing in one direction. Lu Yuan smiled and moved in the direction of the grass. Along the way, he kept looking for the windseeker grass. Lu Yuan found that the number of fierce beasts was getting lesser and lesser. Occasionally, he could even see other teams of genetic warriors. When the genetic warrior teams saw Lu Yuan, they all looked at him with vigilance. They only let down their guard after Lu Yuan left. Of course, there were also some human genetic warriors who smiled and nodded at Lu Yuan as a form of greeting. In a place like this, the relationship between people of the same race was closer than that of the foreign races. If two teams of genetic warriors were to fight, there was also an agreement to help one's own race. This was not only the case for humans, but also for catmen, elves, and houndhead men. After walking for a while, Lu Yuan finally found the exit. After leaving the underground palace, a bone-piercing cold wind blew in his face, making Lu Yuan shiver. It was night time, and the night sky covered the entire desert. The night wind was bone-piercing. There was a bright starry sky in the sky. Silver light scattered down, but it did not appear dark. Time to purchase materials. Ordinary materials, elite materials, all kinds of materials. Quantity is priority. The price is guaranteed to satisfy you. Late. Night stall, roasted scorpion meat, roasted ant leg, stir. Fried spider meat. Hurry up. Selling Geno weapons. Selling Geno weapons. Price is negotiable. Even though it was late at night, there were still quite a few genetic warriors setting up stalls and hawking their wares at the exit. Not everyone liked to fight with berserk beasts. Doing business could earn them spirit crystals, and increasing the degree of their gene tempering was also a good thing. Of course, there might be a special reason for this. After all, many genetic warriors had signed contracts with the consortiums. Perhaps this was a mission from the consortiums. However, Lu Yuan realized that all the peddlers were humans. There were no kobolds, catmen, or elves. The elves were arrogant and disdained to set up stalls on the roadside. The cat people seemed to have their own internal digestive channels, and were somewhat different from the other three races. Lu Yuan came to a small stall that was shouting loudly to purchase materials. The stall owner was a human youth. When he saw Lu Yuan, his eyes lit up and he revealed a bright smile. "Sir, do you want to sell materials? Okay, take a look at the price." Lu Yuan took out the materials he wanted to sell and placed them on the stall. "There's a lot of them. It seems that Sir has gained a lot this time." The small golem's heart is 2 crystals, the scorpion's stinger is 3 crystals, and the spider's silk is 3.5 crystals. That's 1,139.5 crystals in total. I'll round it up to 1140 crystals. What do you think? Alright, Lu Yuan nodded with a smile. This price it is. Previously, Lu Yuan had seen the market price of these materials in the land of origin. This young man was quite fair and the price was already the highest in the market. Lu Yuan was already very satisfied with 1140 crystals. In addition to the spiritual crystals he had left, he now had 1,387 spiritual crystals. He didn't plan on letting the evolution cube absorb these spirit crystals. Instead, he planned on using them for cultivation and as a spirit energy reserve. Lu Yuan put away the spiritual crystals handed over by the young man and was about to leave when the young man hurriedly smiled and said, "Teacher, please wait." "What's wrong?" Lu Yuan looked at him in confusion. "Sir, I think you're a loner. The harvest this time is not small, so your strength should be pretty good, right? Is there a problem? You see, I'm a material merchant under the exquisite Chamber of Commerce, and I'm under a lot of pressure every month. How about this, if you come to me every time you want to sell materials, I'll definitely give you the highest price on the market. You won't be able to find a higher price anywhere else." The young man laughed. Lu Yuan came to a realization. No wonder the young man offered such a good price. He thought for a moment and nodded. "No problem. As long as I'm still in the underground palace, I'll definitely find you if I need any materials." Anyway, it didn't matter who he sold it to. To Lu Yuan, it was less troublesome to find a familiar material seller. Seeing that Lu Yuan had agreed, the young man's eyes lit up and his smile became even more radiant. "I'm Li Luo. What's your name, sir?" "I'm surnamed Lu, Mr. Lu. I hope we can work together more in the future. By the way, Mr. Lu, do you have a communication crystal? Do you want to add me your contact information? I haven't gone to buy it yet." Lu Yuan felt that he should really prepare a communication crystal. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to communicate with anyone. "I see. If you want to sell your materials, just come here. I'm basically here. Lu Yuan nodded and entered the underground palace again. After all, there were less than 2 months until the college entrance examination, and his current cultivation level was still a little low. He had to cultivate well before the college entrance examination. Also, there was no news of that black shadow. Lu Yuan felt a thorn in his heart. Only by cultivating hard and improving his strength would he feel safe. In the following time, Lu Yuan had been hunting fierce beasts in the underground palace. He was getting stronger and stronger, and the ferocious beasts in the outer area of the underground palace were no longer a threat to him. His powerful defensive ability and his inexhaustible spiritual power could be said to have pushed through all the way. He could kill hundreds of ferocious beasts every day, so he naturally had a lot of spiritual crystals and materials. He even had to make a trip to the underground palace every day to sell the materials. The next day, when Lu Yuan went out of the underground palace to sell the materials, Li Luo was stunned. "Mr. Lu, what's the matter?" "Of course I'm selling materials." Lu Yuan threw a pile of materials on the stall. "You killed all of them in one day?" Li Luo's eyes widened. Lu Yuan nodded. In fact, he was already trying his best to choose materials that were expensive and easy to carry around. The number of beasts he killed was almost double that of the materials. Li Luo looked at Lu Yuan and then counted the materials. 1,100 crystals in total. On the third day, Li Luo looked at the pile of materials that Lu Yuan had put down. "Mr. Lu, you've actually gained so much today. You're truly powerful. I'll count it for you." That's 1120 crystals in total." He handed the crystals to Lu Yuan with a smile. "Thanks to Mr. Lu, I feel like my performance can improve a little." "Thank you," Lu Yuan said with a smile. "If you want to thank me, give me more crystals." "Ha ha ha. Mr. Lu, you must be joking. I've already given you the maximum amount I can afford. If I go any higher, I'm afraid I'll lose my job." Lu Yuan smiled and did not mind. Ever since the battle in the ant's nest, he had discovered the power of the guardian system. With his own defensive abilities, he could freely move around the underground palace. He could kill 500 to 600 fierce beasts every day. Even without the materials, he could earn more than 1,500 crystals a day. In addition to the materials, he could earn more than 2,600 crystals a day. In 3 days, he had accumulated 6,643 crystals. According to the current market price, one crystal cost 150 to 200 yuan. Even if the lowest price was 150 yuan, he had earned more than 997,000 yuan in 3 days. Chapter 42. The Death Around Him. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 42. The death around him. Of course, Lu Yuan would not sell the spirit crystals. He still had to use it to charge the evolution cube and cultivate. Just the evolution cube needed to evolve elite genes, and it already required several thousand, or even close to 10,000, spirit crystals. He didn't know how many more he would need in the future. He would do it steadily. After putting away the spirit crystals, Lu Yuan entered the underground palace again. This time, before Lu Yuan could fill the space with the materials, the light door leading out had already been completely restored. Is the time up? Lu Yuan killed a small stone golem with one strike and picked up the heart of the small stone golem on the ground. With a thought, his vision turned black. When he regained his vision, he was already in his simple little room. He instinctively looked out the window. The sky outside the window was dark blue, and the neon lights that had been shining all night had dimmed. Morning. This time, I've stayed a little longer than the last time. Lu Yuan took out his phone and saw that it was already 7 in the morning. This time, he entered the origin source grounds at 9 o'clock, which meant that he had been in there for 10 hours. 5 days. Lu Yuan revealed a smile. He had stayed 2 more days in the land of origin than yesterday. Naturally, the harvest was huge. His gene refinement had officially reached 20%. Compared to yesterday, it had increased by 10%. After consuming nearly 5,000 crystals, his evolution cube was finally fully charged, and he could upgrade his black iron body to the next level. Of course, he would not evolve now. He had consumed a lot of spiritual crystals for his own cultivation, so he only had 342 spiritual crystals left. Other than spiritual crystals, there were other gains. There were 200 materials, and 4 Geno weapons. Apart from the 2 sets of leather armor that had been dropped by the 3 humanoid cat hunters, the pair of daggers had been dropped by the sand ant. The other leather armor was dropped by Black Scorpion. Not only that, but before he came out, he had also changed his original armor into the small golem armor that the small golems had dropped. As for the armor he had previously obtained from the black patterned greystone beetle, it had finally shattered under the attack of thousands of ferocious beasts. Even the shadow in the gene strands had completely collapsed, and he couldn't even repair it. He had lost a set of armor, which cost him tens of thousands of dollars. He was a little distressed. The new small golem armor was the same as the previous one, it was of normal quality. However, compared to the previous armor, the small golem armor provided him with a greater defense enhancement. This was probably because the small golem's body had a higher degree of tempering. This was the only thing that made Lu Yuan happy. It's still early. I'll read the post first, then go to the Mad Wolf material store to sell things. He didn't know if the boss accepted Geno weapons. If you don't want it, I'll just put it up on the battle network and sell it. As long as one was a genetic warrior, they could open their own shop and sell their items. Lu Yuan was no exception. However, he felt that it would be a little troublesome. It would be best if he could sell it at the material store. Just as Lu Yuan sat down while thinking about the problem, he heard a piercing scream from the room next door. Wayne! Wake up, Wayne! What's wrong, Wayne? Lu Yuan was stunned. This voice. The young couple on the side. He frowned slightly, stood up, and went out. Lu Yuan came to the door of the young couple's room and knocked on the door. Are you all right? She heard a knock on the door and hurried footsteps came from inside. Soon, the door opened and a black-haired woman of average looks in black pajamas appeared in front of Lu Yuan. The black-haired woman's face was still covered in tears, and her face was filled with fear. Lu Yuan frowned slightly. Miss Ma, I heard your voice. I came to take a look. Are you okay? The man's name was Feng Wei, and the woman's name was Ma Lingling. Although they knew their names, Lu Yuan didn't have much interaction with them. He only nodded and smiled when he saw them. Ma Lingling was still in shock. When she heard Lu Yuan's words, she shrieked, quickly come and help me. Wayne. Wayne is not breathing. Lu Yuan's eyes flickered, and he hurriedly entered the room. The layout of the young couple's room was similar to Lu Yuan's room, but the area was slightly larger. On the small study table, there was a photo of the young couple smiling happily. There was also a bunch of faded, plastic roses in a small bottle on the table. At this moment, Feng Wei was lying on the bed in the middle of the room. He was only wearing his underwear, and his upper body was naked. His face was pale and his body was stiff. He looked a little scary. When Lu Yuan saw this, he could not help but frown and hurriedly went forward. Ma Lingling caught up and shook Lu Yuan's hand, shrieking, Lu Yuan, I know you are a high school student. You must have a way to save Wayne, right? I beg you to save him. Lu Yuan checked Feng Wei's heartbeat and breathing and found that they had stopped. His body was even a little cold. He frowned and looked at Ma Lingling, who was holding him, and said in a deep voice, Miss Ma, please calm down. Wayne is dead. What? I don't believe it. Wayne said he was going to marry me, how could he die? How could he just leave me alone? Ma Lingling's face was pale as she screamed. Lu Yuan grabbed her shoulder with one hand and shook her. He said, Miss Ma, please calm down. Did you notice anything unusual before? Could it be that he had a heart disease or something? How powerful was Lu Yuan? After being shaken by Lu Yuan, Ma Lingling sobered up a little. Her pupils gradually focused as she looked at Feng Wei on the bed. She covered her mouth and squatted by the bed, crying silently. Lu Yuan looked at Ma Lingling, who was crying silently, and he felt a little sympathy for her. This young couple seemed to have a good relationship, but they were separated by heaven and earth in one night. No one would be able to accept it. After Ma Lingling cried for a while, Lu Yuan said, Miss Ma, can you think of what happened before? Did he have any disease before? Ma Lingling shook her head and wiped her tears. She choked, Wayne has always been in good health. He doesn't have any diseases. He has been in good health. Lu Yuan frowned, feeling that things were not as simple as they seemed. Then do you have any guesses who would want to harm him? Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Ma Lingling pondered for a moment. Then, she seemed to have thought of something and widened her eyes. When I was sleeping, Wayne made a sound of discomfort. I looked at him and saw a vague shadow on him, but Wayne's voice stopped soon, and the shadow disappeared. I thought I was wrong, so I fell asleep again. As she said this, Ma Lingling's face turned pale. She looked at Feng Wei on the bed and silently shrank back. Lu Yuan's heart also exploded. Looking at Feng Wei's ashen face, he had probably died from suffocation. In addition, there was the black shadow that A. Lingling had mentioned. Dovico, could it be that damn thing? No way, again. Are you sure? He looked at Ma Lingling with a grave expression. Ma Lingling's eyes were filled with confusion. She nodded and then shook her head. She sobbed, I was too muddle-headed when I was sleeping. I don't know if I really saw it. Lu Yuan was silent. He took a deep breath and slowly said, Miss Ma, you can call the police and let them handle this. Ma Lingling nodded her head. She hurriedly made a call. Lu Yuan took a deep look at Feng Wei's corpse on the bed. The black shadow had probably appeared again. Last time, it was his room. He didn't expect it to be directly next to his room this time. They shouldn't be coming for him, right? That black shadow only appeared at night, and he was in the land of origin at night. The black shadow definitely couldn't find him, so it attacked the people around him. Lu Yuan immediately thought of Li Qinghe. If that's the case, will that black shadow deal with Sister Qinghe when the time comes? After the mutation incident, almost everyone had distanced themselves from Lu Yuan. The only person who truly cared about him was Li Qinghe. Lu Yuan had always treated Li Qinghe as an older sister who cared about him. Although that was his predecessor's matter, after accepting the memory, Lu Yuan empathized with it and naturally did not want anything to happen to Li Qinghe. But on second thought, Li Qinghe was basically out at night, so the probability of something happening was low. He just had to tell her not to come back tonight. As Lu Yuan was thinking this, the door of the room outside opened. Ma Lingling, who had just called the police, heard the sudden sound of the door opening. She shivered and grabbed Lu Yuan's clothes. Lu Yuan glanced at Ma Lingling. Miss Ma, let go of me. I'll go out and take a look. Ma Lingling nodded and carefully let go of Lu Yuan's clothes. Lu Yuan walked out of the room and into the living room. He saw Li Qinghe with a cigarette in her mouth and closing the door with his foot. She was holding a bag of buns and 2 bags of soy milk in her hands. When she saw Lu Yuan, she smiled and said, Little brother Yuan, I knew that you definitely haven't left the house yet. Have you been busy cultivating and not going to class? I bought your favorite meat buns. As she spoke, she raised the bun in her hand. Lu Yuan looked at the bun in Li Qinghe's hand and felt his heart warm. He smiled and said, Elder sister Qinghe, I'm rich now. I'll pay for your meals in the future. What do you mean? Your wings have hardened, have they? I still have enough money to treat you to a bun. Li Qinghe picked up the cigarette in her mouth with her fingers, blew out a smoke ring, and glared at Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan smiled helplessly and was about to say something when Li Qinghe suddenly raised her brows in surprise. That's not right. Little brother Yuan, why did you come out of that young couple's room? Chapter 43. A person with status. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 43. A person with status. Lu Yuan looked at the open door and said, Mr. Feng is dead. I heard Miss Ma's movements just now, so I went over to take a look. Li Qinghe's eyes flickered, and he revealed a terrified expression. Mr. Feng is dead. What's going on? Lu Yuan said, do you still remember the black shadow I told you about last time? Miss Ma said that she saw the black shadow kill Mr. Feng. Li Qinghe's pupils contracted slightly, and his expression became increasingly nervous. You mean that black shadow? That was actually real. Are there really ghosts? Lu Yuan was speechless. Big Sister Qinghe, so you thought I was lying to you? He asked with a smirk. Now, it seems that it was very likely to be a special kind of mutation. It's quite dangerous here at this time, so you have to be careful at night. That thing seems to only appear at night. Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Li Qinghe nodded repeatedly. She glanced at the door and asked, is Sister Ma inside? I'll go in and comfort her. Lu Yuan nodded. He and Li Qinghe returned to the young couple's room to accompany Ma Lingling while waiting for the police to arrive. The efficiency of the police in the slums was very low. Even though there was a murder, it took them more than 2 hours to get here. 2 imperial police officers in red uniforms with white maple leaves examined Feng Wei's body and routinely asked about the situation before leaving. As for the cause of the case, they said that they needed to investigate further. Lu Yuan was not surprised by this at all. The gangs in this area were rampant, and they might even have connections with the higher-ups in power. The police had always turned a blind eye to the gangs and didn't dare to interfere. No matter what kind of murder case it was, it might be related to the gang. The only thing 2 police officers could do was to make a record and register. Ma Lingling was still sad. Li Qinghe accompanied her while Lu Yuan left the room. He went back to his room and took out his phone. He wanted to ask Peter if there was any news about the Black Shadow. There were a lot of chat logs on the phone, most of which were in the class group and the Future War God group. Someone even had him in the group chat for Future War Gods. He opened it to take a look. It was someone asking how his cultivation was going and whether he had come out of the land of origin alive yesterday. Lu Yuan was a little afraid of scaring Zhuo Ming and the others, so he didn't tell them that his refinement had already reached 20%. Other than that, there were also things like what they had obtained in the land of origin, such as some exchanges in the cultivation of physical skills. Lu Yuan was not in the mood to reply to them. Other than chatting, there were also many friend requests. In fact, ever since Lu Yuan had awakened, he had never stopped receiving friend requests. Lu Yuan was originally handsome, but because of his poor family and the mutation incident he had encountered before, no one dared to approach him. However, now that Lu Yuan had awakened as a genetic warrior, there were many people who wanted to get to know him. Of course, they were all girls. Lu Yuan didn't even look at the requests and deleted them all. He opened Peter's chat box and sent a message. Any news on the Black Shadow? After a few minutes, Peter's message came. Mr. Lu. I'm sorry, but there's no new information. I'm afraid it'll be hard to get any new information in the next few days. What's going on? Lu Yuan frowned. It's like this. The feral dog gang is immoral. Yesterday, they killed our gang members and took our territory. Our boss has decided to have a good fight with those B***stards. That's why I don't have the energy to investigate that black figure. Feral Dog Gang. Lu Yuan raised his eyebrows slightly. Even if he didn't know much about the gangs in the slums, he would occasionally hear about the Feral Dog Gang. After all, the Feral Dog Gang was the most arrogant gang in the entire slum. They would do almost all the bad things that could be thought of. As long as he could earn money. Their style of doing things was like wild dogs in the slums snatching food at all costs. Not only that, but the Feral Dog Gang was also the largest gang in the slums, with great power. Peter's message came again. The Feral Dog Gang is getting more and more savage. In the past few years, they have developed rapidly and no longer put the other gangs in their eyes. Some time ago, they invaded the territory of the Venomous Snake Gang. In the end, the Venomous Snake Gang could only swallow their anger because of their strength. But we, the Black Rat Gang, are not like those gutless sissies of the Venomous Snake Gang. Lu Yuan was uninterested in the sect. He was just a little helpless. He didn't expect such a thing to happen at this time. Then, you should investigate the Black Shadow as soon as possible. Don't worry, Mr. Lu. As long as we teach the Feral Dog Gang a lesson, we will continue to investigate. Lu Yuan took a deep breath and could only accept this. If the gang wanted to fight, he couldn't stop them, so he continued to investigate. Exiting the chat, Lu Yuan thought for a moment and realized that he could not do anything now. He could only work hard on his cultivation and keep getting stronger so that the Black Shadow would not mess with him. Let's sell the materials first and get some money. Then, we'll buy some potions. Lu Yuan went out and came to the 9 Lakes business circle. Not far from the Mad Wolf material store, Lu Yuan saw a black hover car parked quietly. There was a ferocious dog head pattern on the door of the hover car. Lu Yuan took a look and came to the entrance of the Mad Wolf material shop. Just as he was about to push the door open, he heard the sound of conversation coming from inside. Young master, the boss wants you to go back. Get lost. I'm not going back. I will never return to that cold-blooded person's side. But young master. If you don't go back, we will be punished. That's your business, not mine. Don't you have enough blood on your hands? Get lost. Get out. Don't force me to do it. Woof woof woof. Then, Lu Yuan saw the door of the shop open and 2 people in black suits and black sunglasses came out in a sorry state. Their faces were a little pale. They glanced at Lu Yuan, then lowered their heads and left in a hurry. Lu Yuan turned his head and saw them enter the hover car. The hover car rose into the air and left. Lu Yuan pushed the door open and walked into the shop. The boss, who was playing with his phone with his head lowered, shouted coldly, "Didn't I tell you to get lost? You still dare to come back? What?" Lu Yuan raised his eyebrows. "Boss, you want me to get lost?" The boss's body stiffened. He looked up at Lu Yuan, then immediately showed a bright smile. "Aya. So it's you. I'm talking about the dogs. They should have left already." The boss glanced outside the door. Lu Yuan smiled. "They did. I watched them get into the car." The boss looked at Lu Yuan and smiled. Lu Yuan sized up the boss, who had brown curly hair and looked very thin. He smiled and said, "I didn't expect the boss to be someone with a high status. Those 2 men in black didn't look like ordinary people. They actually called you young master." "Ha! Status." The boss shook his head and didn't continue the conversation. "By the way, brother, are you selling materials again?" he asked. Lu Yuan nodded and threw out a pile of materials. The boss saw this and whistled, "Wow. This many again. Brother, you're too strong. The land of origin is your ATM, right?" Lu Yuan smiled but did not answer. To be fair, the land of origin was now an ATM for him. Of course, this also required strength. "Give me a price." Alright, I'll check first. The small golem's heart is 300, the scorpion stinger is 400, the giant pincers are 250, and the underground spider silk is 600. A total of 213,000, what do you think? Yes. Lu Yuan nodded. Sure. The boss of Mad Wolf was a little scamming. Lu Yuan had calculated the price before he came, and it was about this price. The boss sized Lu Yuan up and was full of surprise. Brother, you're too strong. You can even kill a crypt spider so quickly. Your improvement speed is too fast, isn't it? Could it be that you're a genius from some family? Lu Yuan smiled. I'm just an ordinary person. By the way, do you accept Geno armaments? Geno weapon. Of course, they would. Do you have a Geno weapon? The boss's eyes lit up. Okay, take a look at the price. Lu Yuan took out 3 sets of leather armor and a pair of daggers. The boss looked at it and said, this leather armor is from the crypt rat. I'll give you 45,000 for 1 set and 90,000 for 2 sets. Also, this leather armor is from the black scorpion, so it's a little more expensive, 60,000 for 1 set. As for the dagger, it's a little more expensive than the battle armor. I'll give you 80,000 for a pair, so it's 230,000 in total. What do you think? Lu Yuan nodded. Alright. This price it is. Alright, it's a total of 443,000 yuan. I've already transferred it to you. The boss operated his phone and grinned at Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan was secretly happy. He had only earned 130,000 last time, and this time, he had earned more than 3 times what he had earned 3 times. And this was after he had sold a lot of materials in the land of origin. It was too easy to earn money. With this money, he could buy more potions. There should still be some left. Then I'll take my leave first. Hey, wait a minute, brother. You've come to my place a few times. I still don't know your name. How about we add each other as friends? The boss said with a smile. Hearing this, Lu Yuan thought for a moment and said, I'm Lu Yuan. My name is Shui Wang. Woof, woof, woof. Shui Wang 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 Wang. Lu Yuan's face darkened. Shui Wang's mouth twitched. Shui Wang. Huh, it's an old habit. You know what I mean. That I understand. Lu Yuan nodded. Chapter 44. The Underground Palace Ruins. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 44. The Underground Palace Ruins. After the two added each other as friends, Lu Yuan said goodbye and left. As usual, Lu Yuan went to the mall to replenish the necessities for the next trip to the land of origin before returning to his rented house. Mao Lingling's room door was open, and there was the sound of things being flipped inside. Lu Yuan raised his eyebrows and walked over. The moment he entered, Lu Yuan saw Mao Lingling and Li Qinghe packing up. What's wrong? Lu Yuan was stunned. Li Qinghe glanced at Lu Yuan and said with a smile, little brother Yuan is back. Sister Ma is planning to leave this place. Lu Yuan looked at Mao Lingling. Mao Lingling's eyes were red and swollen. She smiled at Lu Yuan with unspeakable bitterness. Wayne's gone. There's no point for me to stay here alone. I'm going to see Wayne's hometown first. Lu Yuan did not say much. He nodded. Then I wish you all the best. Mao Lingling smiled and placed the group photo on the desk in a corner of the suitcase. She also carefully kept the plastic rose with the paint removed. I'll help. Lu Yuan stepped forward and smiled. I'll help too. Mao Lingling didn't have many things, so she quickly packed them into a few boxes. After that, Lu Yuan went downstairs with a few boxes and the 3 of them came to the entrance of the community. Mao Lingling hailed a hover car and turned to look at Lu Yuan and Li Qinghe. She smiled. I'm leaving. I hope that you two will have a smooth life in the future and leave this hell as soon as possible. Lu Yuan and Li Qinghe also nodded. As he watched the hover car leave, Li Qinghe sighed softly and took a puff of her cigarette. Phew. I've always known that the lives of people in the slums are worthless. I didn't expect to see someone beside me die. Lu Yuan nodded, then smiled. Sister Qinghe, I've earned over 400,000 this time. It's enough for us to move. When Li Qinghe heard Lu Yuan's words, a hint of surprise flashed in her eyes. More than 400,000, how many materials would that be? Didn't little brother Yuan just awaken not long ago? You could actually bring out so many materials. You're already this strong. It seems like I've underestimated you. Li Qinghe's thoughts whirred. She looked at Lu Yuan in disbelief and said, 400,000. That many? I didn't know genetic warriors could earn so much money. Lu Yuan smiled. I'm pretty strong, so it's easier for me to earn money. Besides, I'm quite lucky this time. I got something valuable. Li Qinghe nodded and said with a smile, I don't know much about genetic warriors either. However, little brother Yuan, you've become successful now. You can earn so much money. No wonder you dared to tell me that you'll pay for your meals. Let's not talk about this for now, Lu Yuan said with a smile. Let's leave the slums. Li Qinghe was silent for a moment, then sighed. Little brother Yuan, I'm not done with my business yet. Why don't you leave first? Lu Yuan frowned, how can that be? If you have anything to say, tell me. I might be able to help you. There's also that strange shadow. The slums are dangerous, and I'm worried about you. Li Qinghe sized Lu Yuan up and revealed a half-dot smile. What's wrong? Lu Yuan was a little embarrassed. What's wrong? Do you know what it is? Little brother Yuan, you can't help me. When Lu Yuan saw Li Qinghe's expression, the corners of his mouth twitched, but he did not dare to ask further. In that case, I'll wait for you to finish, he said. Li Qinghe blew out a ring of smoke and her gaze softened. She smiled and said, you really want to take me out of here? Of course, my sister is the only one who cares about me now. If it wasn't for you, I might not have been able to survive in the slums. Of course, I can't leave you alone. Alright, I'll get it done as soon as possible. I haven't slept since I came back. I'm so tired. Back in his room, Lu Yuan opened the battle network again. This time, he was rich and had the confidence to look at other potions. The healing potions that he had bought previously had been used in battle. There was only one bottle of good quality left. Lu Yuan bought another bottle of good quality. At the same time, he also bought a high-quality speed potion. He also bought 2 bottles of high-quality defensive potions. Not only that, Lu Yuan also bought 2 bottles of high-quality strength-enhancing potion. The healing potion was 30,000, the speed potion was 50,000, and the 2 defense potions were 70,000. The price of the strength potion was the same as the defense potion, which was 70,000 for 2 bottles. It added up to 220,000 yuan. Other than these, Lu Yuan also bought some other refined items that could be used in the land of origin. Maybe he could use it at some point. He spent another 150,000 yuan. In total, Lu Yuan had spent 370,000. The money in his pocket shrank again, leaving him with only 70,000. However, Lu Yuan was still very satisfied. Thinking back to a few days ago, his monthly living expenses were only a few hundred yuan, and he even had to rely on Sister Qinghe to provide for his meals. A few days ago, he would never have thought that he would be able to spend hundreds of thousands of yuan so easily. In the small market of the Sandcliff Underground Palace in the land of origin, Lu Yuan walked out from the entrance of the underground palace. As soon as he came out, someone in the market greeted Lu Yuan with a smile. Lu Yuan, you're out again. Brother Lu, what did you gain this time? I'm also very envious seeing you bring out so many fierce beast materials every time. It's a pity that I don't have a defense as strong as yours. There were humans, elves, cat people, and dog-headed people among them. Lu Yuan smiled and nodded in response. He came to Li Luo's stall. Li Luo's eyes lit up when he saw Lu Yuan, and he revealed a bright smile. Mr. Lu, you're here again. Well, give me a price. Lu Yuan poured out the materials in the battle rune space and piled them up into a small mountain. The black striped snake skin and poison sac. Mr. Lu, you're already able to kill the black striped snake. The black striped snake is already a vicious beast that's close to the inner circle of the underground palace, right? When Li Luo saw Lu Yuan's materials, he could not help but widen his eyes and exclaim. Lu Yuan smiled. My luck isn't bad, I encountered a few black striped snakes that were alone. Black striped snakes usually lived in groups. Their strength alone was at 50% to 80% normal tempering. They were very strong. If they were attacked by the snakes, it would be no safer than falling into the ant nest. Therefore, the number of genetic warriors capable of killing black striped snakes was extremely small. Lu Yuan was only able to kill a black striped snake when he encountered one that was alone. In the past few days, Lu Yuan had entered the land of origin several times. With his strong defensive ability, he was able to run amok in the underground palace and obtain a lot of spiritual crystals and materials every time. As for his gene tempering, it had already reached 39%. This had already surpassed Zhuo Ming and Wen Ni. Up until now, it had not even been a month since he had awakened. One could imagine how fast his progress was. Due to the continuous improvement of his strength and the high-quality potions he had, Lu Yuan could explore the underground palace more freely. Every day, he went deeper and deeper into the underground palace, and the ferocious beasts he killed became more and more powerful. The number of berserk beasts he hunted every day was also increasing. Once a day, he would leave the underground palace and go to Li Luo's place to sell materials. As he went there more and more times, Lu Yuan gradually became familiar with the genetic warriors in the small market. The genetic warriors who often hung out in the market all knew that there was a very young human genetic warrior who could hunt and kill a large number of berserk beasts every day and bring back a large amount of materials. In addition, Lu Yuan would encounter genetic warriors from time to time in the underground palace. Those genetic warriors had also seen Lu Yuan's powerful strength. When they were chatting in the market, the news naturally spread. In an instant, Lu Yuan gained a certain reputation in this market. Because Lu Yuan used the black iron body, his skin turned black iron, and he was a guardian. He was even given the title of Black Knight. One had to know that only those genetic warriors with decent strength would be recognized in the small circle and be given a title. This was a symbol of strength. The circle in this small market clearly regarded Lu Yuan as a powerful expert. If you want to kill a black striped snake, it's not as simple as luck. You can't do it without strength. 3,021 crystals in total. It's all here. Mr. Lu, please count it. Li Luo took out the spirit crystal. In the past few days, he had earned more than 30,000 spirit crystals. However, most of the spirit crystals had been invested into the evolution cube. After this evolution, he would still need to use it next time, so he might as well recharge it first. He left about 10,000 spiritual crystals for cultivation and absorption of spiritual power. Lu Yuan took the spirit crystal and put it into the battle rune space. No need. We've worked together so many times. I believe you. Upon hearing Lu Yuan's words, Li Luo immediately revealed a smile. Anyone would be happy to be recognized, especially by a strong person. Oh right. Mr. Lu, I have some news that you might be interested in. What's the news? Lu Yuan raised his eyebrows and looked at Li Luo with some curiosity. It's like this. Someone found a ruin in the northern inner circle of this underground palace area, and many people are planning to go there to take a look. Ruins. Lu Yuan's pupils shrank and he looked surprised. In the land of origin, the place with the most treasures was not a treasure chest that appeared randomly. Instead, it was in a ruin that would appear out of nowhere. No one knew how the ruins of the land of origin had appeared. Unlike the treasure chest, the ruins seemed to contain items left behind by other civilizations. There were all kinds of dangers inside, but there were also knowledge and treasures left behind by that civilization. The discovery of every relic would cause genetic warriors to go crazy over it. He didn't expect to find another ruin in the Sandcliff underground palace. Lu Yuan's heart beat faster. He decided to go and take a look. Chapter 45. Comparison. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 45. Comparison. The northern area of the inner circle. Lu Yuan confirmed. Yes, I heard it's near an ant nest. I'm not sure where it is exactly. I heard it from someone when I was setting up my stall. Li Luo said. Lu Yuan nodded. I see. Thank you for telling me this. Ha ha ha, Mr. Lu, you're too kind. You're a big client of mine right now. If you get any treasures from the ruins, it'd be best if you could sell them to me. Lu Yuan smiled. If there are any gains, I will consider it. Then I'll go over and take a look. Lu Yuan bid farewell to Li Luo and was about to leave when he heard someone calling him from behind. Big Boss Lu Yuan. Brother Yuan. Lu Yuan turned around in confusion and saw Zhuo Ming running towards him. Behind Zhuo Ming were the guardian warrior and several teammates that Lu Yuan had met last time. However, compared to the last time, there were 2 more people in their team this time. Brother Yuan, you're here too. What a coincidence. Zhuo Ming laughed. It's quite a coincidence. Did you just come in? We've been here for 2 days. We've just come out to replenish our supplies, and we're about to go in again. Black Knight Lu Yuan, we meet again. At this moment, the guardian warrior also walked over with his teammates and reached out his hand to Lu Yuan. I didn't have time to introduce myself last time. My name is Grim, and as you can see, I'm a guardian warrior. Lu Yuan reached out and shook hands with Grim. My name is Lu Yuan. Ha ha ha, you don't need to introduce yourself. I've heard a lot of rumors about you in the market these days. Grim laughed and looked at Lu Yuan with surprise. The last time we met, I already felt that your strength was extraordinary. I didn't expect you to make a name for yourself so quickly. I've been in the Sandcliff underground palace for a few years, but I haven't made a name for myself yet. Grim's teammates were also looking at Lu Yuan curiously. During this period of time in the market, one of the topics of discussion was this Black Knight. After all, it was rare to see a genetic warrior who could kill hundreds of berserk beasts every day. He didn't expect to see him here. Hearing Grim's words, Zhuo Ming also thought of something and looked at Lu Yuan. Brother Yuan. Aren't you a little too strong? I heard from the people in the market that you can bring back a few hundred materials every day. Then wouldn't you have to kill hundreds of fierce beasts every day? Aren't you too absurd? Sis Xiangxiang said that you're a genius, but she definitely didn't expect you to become so strong so quickly. Lu Yuan laughed. I have the advantage of being a guardian. After all, I have a strong defense. It's not easy for me to encounter danger. I'm also a guardian, Grim said with a bitter smile. Why do I feel like we're not warriors of the same class? His teammates were all laughing. Captain, if you can be like the Black Knight, then you'll have your own name. Captain, you have to work hard and do your best. Try to get a title like White Knight or Grey Knight. The relationship between this genetic warrior's team members was obviously quite good. A few of his teammates were laughing and teasing Grim. By the way, Lu Yuan, I have some news here. Do you want to hear it? Grim looked at Lu Yuan with a serious expression. What news? Lu Yuan raised his eyebrows. What news? We found a small ruin in this area. There are many people planning to go over and take a look. We're also planning to go over. Do you want to go? You mean the ruins? I've just received the news and was just about to go take a look. That's good, why don't we go together? Grim smiled. Zhuoming looked at Lu Yuan and said, that's right, brother Yuan, do you want to go together? There's more people to take care of. Lu Yuan thought for a moment, then nodded. That's good. The number of beasts in the inner circle of the underground palace was more than that in the outer circle, and they were stronger. Even Lu Yuan had to be careful. If there was someone with him, he would be able to relieve some of the pressure. Compared to people he didn't know, Zhuoming and Grim had worked together once. Grim's strength was not bad. With the dark night around, the journey will be much smoother, Grim said with a smile. Then let's go. The group entered the underground palace again and moved towards the inner circle. Not long after Lu Yuan and his group entered the underground palace, a group of people approached the market. The leader was a female houndhead human with soft white hair and black leather armor. It was none other than Bersha Vim, who had escaped last time. Behind her, there were more than 10 houndhead genetic warriors. At that moment, Bersha Vim's expression was not good, and she said coldly, a bunch of trash. I told you to look for that human, but you've been looking for him for so long without any news. Next to Bersha Vim was a black-furred houndhead man. With a bitter smile on his face, he said, Third Miss, the Grey Stone Forest's area is too large and the terrain is complex. It's too difficult to find a human. We've already tried our best to find him. Don't try to find excuses for your incompetence. Bersha Vimi shouted. The black-furred dog-headed man's face stiffened, and he revealed a helpless expression. Yes, Third Miss, it was my fault. Humph, but this time, we've discovered the ruins. If you can gain something, we can forget about the human matter. The black-furred dog-headed man smiled. Third Miss, don't worry. This time, not only have our consortium's masters been mobilized, I've also invited Blood Blade Sally and Madman Lee Kansas. Even if the other forces receive the news and rush over, I'm afraid they will not be as well prepared as us. This time, we will definitely have a great harvest. Bersha Vimi revealed a smile. I hope you won't let me down this time. Humph. If I get a good harvest from the remains this time, I'll be able to have more say in my father's matters. I won't be a laughingstock for big brother and second sister. Third Miss, please be at ease. I definitely won't let you down this time. The group of people entered the underground palace as they spoke. In the depths of the underground palace, Lu Yuan and the others advanced in the passage. With a huge shield in hand, Grim walked in front, followed by Zhuoming and the others, and Lu Yuan at the back. At this moment, Grim, who was walking at the front, suddenly stopped in his tracks, and his expression changed. What? He looked down at his feet and found that they were entangled by white spider silk. There's a situation. As soon as he spoke, 2 huge black spiders about 1.8 meters in height jumped down from the top of the passage in front of Grim. The sharp claws were aimed at Grim's head. Grim hurriedly raised his shield to block. Thump. The spider's sharp claws landed on the shield, and the huge force caused Grim to take 2 steps back. The others also reacted. Captain. Zhuoming and the others held their heavy swords or long knives and looked at the huge underground spider. Pay attention to the ground and burn the spider silk first. Grim said. Everyone came back to their senses and looked at the ground not far away. He noticed that there were many white spider webs on the ground and on both sides of the tunnel. A delicate golden-haired young man that Lu Yuan did not see last time appeared with a fireball in his hand. BDNV his fireball shot towards the spider web. The spider web immediately burst into flames. Seeing the spider silk burning, the two giant spiders screamed and rushed toward the golden-haired young man in anger. Don't even think about it. Grim shifted his body and raised his shield, trying to block the two spiders. However, as one of the spiders was blocked, the other spider broke through Grim's line of defense and pounced on the blonde young man. Seeing the giant spider pouncing at them, the others' expressions changed drastically. Especially the golden-haired youth. The underground spider's speed was too fast. The gene he had engraved was an elemental-type transcendent gene, so there was no special increase in speed. There was no way to dodge it. The others weren't that strong either. They could only watch the crypt spider charge at the golden-haired young man with wide eyes. At this moment, Lu Yuan appeared in front of the golden-haired young man. He activated his body of black iron and slashed at the giant spider with the huge heavy sword in his hand. Clang! The crypt spider's sharp claws clashed with the heavy sword, producing the sound of metal clashing. Then, the crypt spider shrieked and its huge body took a few steps back. Tiny cracks appeared on the sharp claws that collided with the beetle's claw sword. Lu Yuan was expressionless. He took a step forward and held the heavy sword with both hands. His attacks were like the tide, continuous and surging, slashing out one after another. The crypt spider shrieked and retreated. The others watched with wide eyes as Lu Yuan suppressed the crypt spider. So strong. Is this the strength of a black knight? The crypt spider is so big, I'm afraid it has a tempering level of more than 70%. I didn't expect it to be suppressed by the Dark Knight in a head-on collision. While everyone was still in shock, Grim, who was fighting against another crypt spider, shouted. What are you guys doing? Aren't you going to help? The rest of the people came back to their senses and looked in Grim's direction. As a guardian warrior, Grim could only raise his shield to block the attacks of the crypt spider. The comparison made them feel a little embarrassed. His captain looked so weak. Coming, Captain. Hurry up and help the captain. Chapter 46. The Bronze Door. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 46. The Bronze Door. Not long after, the heavy sword in Lu Yuan's hand shattered the carapace on the head of the crypt spider, and the sword cut into its brain. The crypt spider let out a shrill scream and fell to the ground, twitching. Lu Yuan pulled out his long sword, flicked the green mucus on the blade, and looked in the direction of Grim and the others. Grim's defensive ability was very strong. Although the crypt spider's strength was not weak, it would still be difficult to break through Grim's defense. With him fending off the crypt spider's attacks, the others only had to attack. Although Zhuaming and the others were slightly weaker, the crypt spider was not a beast with particularly strong defense. Their attacks could still leave wounds on its body. However, even though they were attacking as a team, they were still unable to cause any fatal damage to the underground spider. After Lu Yuan killed his spider, Grim and the others still had the strength to fight against the underground palace spiders. Lu Yuan stepped on the ground and charged at the underground palace spider. At this moment, the crypt spider's sharp claws were once again blocked by Grim's giant shield. It hissed angrily and Lu Yuan jumped over 2 meters, appearing on its head. Lu Yuan raised the heavy sword over his head and slashed down ruthlessly. The pitch-black sword edge landed on the black shell, and a sword mark instantly appeared on the shell. Around the sword mark, cracks spread like a spider web. Crack. Woo 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 woo. The blade of the sword tore through the carapace on the spider's head and pierced through its skull. Squeak. The crypt spider let out an ear-piercing screech, and its body twisted violently. Its sharp claws waving in all directions. Lu Yuan stood firmly on its back and thrust the heavy sword down. The crypt spider's movements froze, and its 1.8-meter tall body fell heavily. Zhuaming and the others widened their eyes in shock. He's too strong. The crypt spider's head is clearly the toughest part of its body, but the Dark Knight was able to split it apart with a single strike. How strong is his power? I can't believe that a Guardian class is so powerful. I'm so depressed as an attack class. Everyone chimed in. Grim took a look at the body on the ground, put away his giant shield, and said with a bitter smile, "Lu Yuan, you're too strong. I feel like we'll only be a burden if we follow you." Lu Yuan smiled. This crypt spider was much stronger than the spiders in the outer area. If there were two of them, it would be quite troublesome for me. If you hadn't blocked one of them, I wouldn't have been able to deal with it so easily. Lu Yuan didn't try to be polite. He was indeed powerful, but it wouldn't be easy for him to deal with two giant spiders in a short time. This was especially so since there were spider webs and other things nearby. The terrain was advantageous to the crypt spiders, so it was a little troublesome to deal with. Of course, with his defensive abilities, he would not be injured, but his killing speed would be slower. The problem was that he was going to the remains now. Who knew what the situation was like there? It would be better if he could go there earlier. If they were too late and the ruins closed, it would be too late to regret. Ha ha ha, I feel much more at ease now that you've said that. Pack up the materials and continue going in, org. Grim laughed. The group took out the materials and continued to move deeper into the underground palace. The deeper they went into the underground palace, the wider and more complicated the passages became. Some of the passages were even more than 200 meters wide, like a small square. The fierce beasts that Lu Yuan and the others encountered were also getting stronger. Even with Lu Yuan's strength, he found some fierce beasts a little tricky. However, Lu Yuan's strength was not weak. With the help of Grim, who was also quite powerful, and other genetic warriors, although the battle was sometimes a little difficult, they still advanced steadily. After moving forward for a distance, Lu Yuan and the others passed through a rocky area. At this moment, a low roar sounded from afar. Lu Yuan felt the powerful aura and stopped in his tracks. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead as he looked in the direction of the sound, revealing a bewildered expression. What a powerful aura! He had been in the underground palace for a long time, but this was the first time he had felt such a terrifying aura. If he were to face it head-on, he felt that he had no chance of winning. Grim was the same as Lu Yuan. Grim immediately put his index finger to his mouth and made a gesture to Zhuo Ming and the others. Zhuo Ming and the rest stopped and looked around quietly. This was a normal interaction for a team that was adventuring in the underground palace. Lu Yuan and Green looked at each other with a trace of fear in their eyes. The two of them carefully turned the corner and looked outside. After turning the corner, there was a huge passage that was the size of a small square. At the edge of the passage, there was a dog-like ferocious beast covered in black scales with a single horn on its forehead. It was about 1.7 meters tall and was biting the corpse of a giant snake that was about 5 meters long, yellow in color, and had a black line on its back. There were also a few giant snakes that were more than 2 meters long. When Lu Yuan saw the giant yellow snake on the ground, his pupils could not help but constrict, and he was a little shocked. The black-striped snake was extremely venomous, and its speed, strength, and constitution were all very strong. An ordinary black-striped snake was only 2 meters long. A black-striped snake that was 5 meters long was obviously an elite-level fierce beast. The black-striped snake's gene tempering was at least 50%. Even Lu Yuan didn't dare to provoke an elite black-striped snake. He didn't expect that he would become a corpse in the beast's mouth. This beast was too strong. Lu Yuan sized up the fierce beasts and compared them with the illustrations he had seen before. Not long after, he found out what kind of beast it was. Black-scaled horned wolf. This was a powerful beast that was scattered throughout the entire region of Sandrock City. The number of black-scale horned wolves was small, but their pack was very strong. Even the weakest black-scaled horned wolf was an elite level, and it was the kind of elite-level beast with a tempering degree of more than 80%. It was said that the black scale-horned wolf pack also had a powerful leader-level fierce beast. They were one of the top predators of Sandrock City. He didn't expect to encounter such a fierce beast here. He turned his head to look at Grim. Grim also turned to look at him. Lu Yuan also saw the fear in Green's eyes. The two of them gave each other a look and slowly retreated. "Boss, Brother Yuan, how is it?" Chua Ming asked carefully. The others also looked at the two of them. Lu Yuan and Grim looked at each other. Grim frowned and said, "Not good. There's a black scaled horned wolf eating there." "What? Black scale horned wolf?" Chua Ming and the others widened their eyes in shock. They immediately lowered their voices and were a little nervous. "How can we encounter a beast of this level here? Even if we go there, we won't be enough to fill the gaps between his teeth. Boss, Brother Yuan, what should we do?" Everyone looked at Lu Yuan and Grim. Grim also looked at Lu Yuan. "Lu Yuan, you're the strongest. Do you have any thoughts?" Lu Yuan frowned and thought for a while, then said, "The black scale-horned wolf is too strong. Just sensing its aura is enough to make people feel fear. We're no match for it. Let's think of a way to take a detour." Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Grim and the rest nodded. "We can walk back for a while. There's a fork in front that should lead us to the ruins." After making their decision, the group carefully retreated, not daring to disturb the black scale-horned wolf's meal. After they changed to another passage, they continued to move forward. As they went deeper and deeper into the inner circle, the number of elite fierce beasts that Lu Yuan felt was very dangerous also increased. Even Lu Yuan did not sense the danger from some of the beasts. And it was Grim who discovered it. At this time, the benefits of having rich experience in exploring the underground palace were reflected. Grim had been in the Sandrock underground palace for a few years, and he had many ways to avoid the ferocious beasts. These were the experiences that he had gained from dying time and time again. Everyone cautiously continued forward. Not long after, they passed through a small passage that was less than 10 meters wide. As soon as they left the tunnel, they saw the corpse of a huge yellow sand ant. "It's the underground palace sand ants. Judging from its size, it should be an elite soldier ant. I didn't expect to die here. Let's go and take a look." They came to the elite soldier ant's corpse and found that there were many knife and sword marks on it. It's left behind by a genetic warrior. It seems like it was killed by a genetic warrior. I heard that the ruins are near the ant nest. Usually, soldier ants will stay in the ant nest to guard it. Are we reaching the ruins soon? Chua Ming said. Everyone revealed a look of surprise. Don't be happy yet, stay alert. Don't get tricked by others. Grim growled. Chua Ming and the others shivered and nodded. They continued forward and saw many more sand ant corpses on the way. Most of them were worker ant corpses, and soldier ant corpses could be seen from time to time. Soon, they arrived at a small square. There were many genetic warriors gathered in 2s and 3s in the small square. Humans, elves, catmen, and kobolds. The 4 races were vaguely distinct. There was also a small group of teams with 4 races mixed together. In the depths of the small square, there was a tightly shut bronze door. There were all sorts of strange patterns carved on the door. It's the ruins entrance. The eyes of Lu Yuan and the others lit up, revealing a look of pleasant surprise. Chapter 47. Everyone's reactions, 500 million annual salary. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 47. Everyone's reactions, 500 million annual salary. The arrival of Lu Yuan and the others attracted the attention of the hundreds of genetic warriors in the square. Everyone's eyes swept across Chua Ming, Grim and the others. After seeing Lu Yuan's body of black iron, many of them revealed a trace of vigilance. In the human region, a skinny man with purple-black hair sized Lu Yuan up and said, "This person is the Black Knight, Lu Yuan, who has been killing a large number of fierce beasts every day recently." Beside him, a black-haired young man nodded. "Yes, that's him. We've already set up his file. Have you investigated?" "I've already investigated it." Lu Yuan had only been in the Sandcliff Underground Palace for a short time. It had been less than 2 weeks in real life. However, in less than 2 weeks, the strength of the fierce beasts he killed had been increasing, which meant that his own improvement speed was extremely fast. From this, it could be judged that his speed of absorbing spiritual crystals was not slow. There were witnesses who saw Lu Yuan fighting the beasts. His genetic combat skill was probably an elite-level defensive skill. It was very strong. All in all, he's a rare genius. The purple-haired man squinted his eyes and nodded. He doesn't look very old, so he should have just awakened. The young man looked at Lu Yuan and nodded. "I'm afraid so. I'm guessing that before he came to the Sandcliff Underground Palace, he was adventuring in the Grey Stone Forest, the 100 Flowers Oasis, and other areas. With his defensive abilities, the beasts in these areas would not be able to pose a threat to him. If his cultivation speed has always been this fast, then he should be a newcomer who has just awakened this year." "He only awakened this year." The purple-haired man pondered for a moment, then said, "He's indeed a pretty good genius. Have you made contact with him? Which country is he from?" The young man shook his head. "I've only just gotten his general information, so I don't know much about other aspects of him. Although he didn't seem to be particularly close to other genetic warriors, we couldn't rule out the possibility that he was a descendant of a large family and he was currently training alone. That's why we haven't made contact yet." "Yes, you did the right thing. Let's observe him first. If he can maintain this rate of improvement, he'll definitely be able to reach the warlord level in the future. He might even have a chance to reach a higher level, so it's worth getting in touch with." This subordinate also thinks so. "Make the arrangements as soon as possible. I'm afraid that there are people from other powers who are also watching him." As the purple-haired man spoke, he swept his gaze across a few seats. Those places were the gathering places of various forces. At this moment, the leaders were sizing up Lu Yuan and talking to the people around them in a low voice. "Yes. I will do it as soon as possible." It wasn't just the people in the human region who were talking about Lu Yuan. People in other regions were also talking about Lu Yuan. In the dog-headed people's area, a tall and sturdy dog-headed man in pitch-black armor and carrying a giant axe as tall as a man looked at Lu Yuan and said slowly, "Is this the human genius who has a good reputation in the market recently?" Beside him, a slender hound-head man in leather armor nodded. "Yes, my lord. His cultivation speed is very fast, so he should have just awakened." The muscular dog-headed man stared at Lu Yuan. After a moment, he grinned and sneered. "Find an opportunity to kill him once. The conflict between the humans and us is getting more and more intense. I'm afraid that another great war will break out soon. The geniuses of the human race should be suppressed as much as possible. Don't let him grow up too comfortably." The slender hound-head man nodded and smiled. "I understand. In the elf area." The two handsome elf men looked at Lu Yuan. "Have you investigated that human?" "Not yet. I heard that he's quite strong, but there are quite a few geniuses at this level every year. I'm afraid that there are many more geniuses in our fairy clan who are more powerful than him this year." "Oh, then it's not worth much attention." In the Catmen area, a beautiful catwoman with a hot figure, long white hair, and wearing leather armor took a glance at Lu Yuan and then looked away. She frowned slightly and asked, "Has the news about the ruins been spread?" Beside her, a young cat person nodded. "Team leader, the news has already spread. Can Her Highness Ye make it in time?" The young cat-man revealed a difficult expression. This. What's wrong? Although Princess Ye has just awakened, with her strength, if she can come, the remains will definitely be occupied by us cat people. The white-haired cat woman frowned slightly. Her Highness said that she encountered a boss-level fierce wind eagle. It looked quite delicious. So she went after it. The white-haired cat woman fell silent. Then, she revealed a look of admiration. As expected of your Highness. She could hunt down leader-level fierce beasts as soon as she awakened. Under your Highness' leadership, our empire will definitely be able to advance further. The cat-person young man also nodded with admiration. Everyone knows of your Highness's talent. Since that's the case, let's not disturb your Highness's mood. It's just a small ruin. It's nothing to your Highness. In the area where various races were mixed, a cat-man in a blue robe and a dog-headed man in armor were also sizing Lu Yuan up. The cat-man raised his eyebrows. This combat technique that turned his skin black. Is it that Black Knight, Lu Yuan, who has been killing a large number of ferocious beasts every day recently? It should be him. I didn't expect him to be here. The dog-headed man grinned. This time, there are quite a few famous genetic warriors here. The cat man shook his head in disdain. This Black Knight was only in the outer circle previously. Although his defense is commendable, his true strength is not strong and is not worth paying too much attention to. The dog-headed man also nodded in agreement. Yes, the ones who are worth paying attention to are Iron Axe, Carmen, Scorpion, Kong Qian, White Cat, Ping Xing and the others. They were all true experts with a tempering degree of over 80% and had the elite gene engraved on them. Compared to them, Lu Yuan is still too inexperienced. Indeed, to dare to come to the ruins with such strength, he's really not afraid of death. A genius like him had never suffered a loss. It would be good if he could understand the cruelty of reality. Ha ha ha. Don't worry about him, the dog-headed man said. Let's wait for the ruins to open. The cat-man nodded, and the two of them looked in the direction of the ruins. Lu Yuan and the others came to the square. Seeing that many people were looking over, Shuoming lowered his head slightly and could not help but exclaim, there seem to be many experts. And it seems like many people are looking at you, Brother Yuan. Grim looked around and smiled. Lu Yuan is very powerful. It's normal for these people to pay attention to him. After all, Lu Yuan has obtained a title at such a young age. Lu Yuan also noticed that many people were observing him. He smiled. So be it. It's not like you'll lose a piece of meat. Green said, Lu Yuan, shall we go to the human side? After the ruins open, it might become chaotic, so it's safer to follow the same race. Lu Yuan nodded. I think so too. Let's go over. The group walked towards the human camp area. A slender young man in leather armor saw Lu Yuan and the others walking over and smiled. Black Knight, Lu Yuan. I didn't expect to see you here. Lu Yuan glanced at the young man and was stunned for a moment. Then, he smiled and nodded. Hello, he said. My name is Lu Xia, and this is my team. We are explorers from the Sky Mansion Consortium. Lu Xia introduced himself with a smile. Sky Mansion Consortium. The Sky Mansion Consortium, one of the top 10 consortiums in the world. Shuoming asked in surprise. This little brother also knows about our consortium. That's right, our Sky Mansion Consortium is indeed one of the top 10 consortiums in the world. Lu Xi raised his head slightly, and his smile became even brighter. He looked at Lu Yuan and continued, by the way, Brother Lu Yuan, I heard that you haven't joined the organization yet. Do you want to join our Sky Mansion Consortium? I'll give you an internal recommendation. With your talent and strength, I guarantee that the treatment won't be low. As long as you joined, you will have an annual salary of 500 million. If your strength increases, when you reach the warrior or master level, it will definitely be even higher. Lu Shi's words caused Zhuoming, Grimm, and the others to widen their eyes in shock. 500 million a year. Or the bottom. Isn't Brother Yuan only at the probationary level? Zhuoming couldn't help but exclaim in a low voice. Not only Zhuoming, but even Green and the rest could not believe it. If they had not heard it with their own ears, they would not have believed it. Did he not treat money as money? When Lu Shi saw their shocked expressions, he laughed and said, other trainee warriors definitely don't have such a high price, but Brother Lu Yuan is a genius, so he's definitely different. When Grimm and the others heard this, they felt sour. They didn't have to do anything and could earn 500 million a year. They risked their lives to hunt fierce beasts, but in the end, they could only earn a few million a year. Sometimes, the difference between humans was even greater than that between humans and dogs. Lu Yuan was also a little surprised. The price was indeed a little high. When he had just awakened, the highest offer from those consortium was not even 1 million. He didn't expect to have 500 million now. However, he thought about it. With his current strength, as long as he worked hard, it wouldn't be difficult for him to earn millions a day. There was no need to join a consortium. Although the Sky Mansion consortium would give him a lot of money, he would lose his freedom. Lu Yuan had already made up his mind not to be a worker. It was impossible for him to work, even if he was given more. He smiled and shook his head. I don't have any plans to join a consortium for the time being. Sorry. A hint of disappointment flashed across Lu Shi's eyes, but he soon smiled and said, it's fine. If you change your mind, you can contact me at any time. Our Sky Mansion consortium has a base in Sandstone City. No problem, he said. Just as the two of them were conversing, Bersha Vim brought a group of Houndhead men to the small square. When she saw the ruins, Bersha Vim's eyes lit up and a smile appeared on her face. However, she soon saw Lu Yuan, who was talking and laughing with Lu Shi. Her pupils contracted, and a ferocious expression appeared on her face. It's that human. I didn't expect him to be here. Chapter 48. The opening of the ruins, the gray, white stone tower. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 48. The opening of the ruins, the gray, white stone tower. Bersha Vim immediately took out her longbow and wanted to attack Lu Yuan. At this moment, the black-furred Houndhead man pressed down on Bersha Vim's hand. Third miss, please wait. Bersha Vim turned to look at the black-furred dog-headed man, her face filled with anger. Jing Ba. What are you doing? You dare to stop me? The Jing Ba's eyebrows twitched. Third miss, it's not that I want to stop you, but the situation is not right. Bersha Vim furrowed her brows and looked at the Jing Ba. What's wrong? If you can't give me a reason, I'll definitely complain to my father. Jing Ba took a deep breath, and a hint of anger appeared in his eyes. But facing his third miss, he could only helplessly suppress his anger. Third miss, look at the young man who is talking and laughing with that human. Bersha turned to look at Lu Shi, who was beside Lu Yuan. Is there a problem? She asked, frowning. Jing Ba forced a smile and said, of course there's a problem. That human's name is Lu Shi. He's the person in charge of the Planet Daki Heavenly Estate Financial Group in Sandstone City. He's very powerful, about the same level as me. Moreover, the power of the Heavenly Estate Financial Group is even stronger than our Vim Financial Group. Please reading. On freewebnovel.com. What? Even stronger than our financial group? Bersha could not help but frown. Although she hated Lu Yuan, she wasn't stupid. Lu Yuan was talking and laughing with the person in charge of the Heavenly Estate Financial Group. They seemed to have a close relationship. If she attacked Lu Yuan now, it would obviously cause the Heavenly Estate Financial Group to retaliate. Bersha's eyes were filled with anger. Looking at Lu Yuan in the distance, she could not help but clench her fists. Jing Ba at the side said, "Third miss, we can't make a move now. If the Heavenly Estate Financial Group retaliates, it will affect the development of our Vim Financial Group. At that time, when the boss blames us, even third miss will probably be blamed." "Humph. You don't need to tell me, I know," Bersha said coldly. She looked at Lu Yuan again, put away the longbow in her hand, and said, "In that case, let him go." But why was this human here? Wasn't he supposed to be in the grey stone forest? In such a short time, he actually appeared in the inner circle of the Sandcliff underground palace. Jing Ba looked at Lu Yuan, also somewhat puzzled. He frowned slightly. "Third miss, we've been searching the grey stone forest area. Now it seems that it's normal that we can't find it." Bersha nodded. "Send someone to investigate when this human came to the Sandcliff underground palace. No wonder you've been able to escape our search." "Alright, third miss, let's go over first." The group walked towards the Houndhead men's area. As soon as he reached the Houndhead men's area, a Houndhead man with brown and black fur walked over and said with a smile, "Jing Ba, you've come as expected." "Greetings, Miss Bersha." Bersha nodded with a cold expression. The dog-headed man was stunned for a moment before he smiled and asked, "What's wrong with Miss Bersha? Did someone make Miss angry? I wonder if he needs any help." The Moonbone Financial Group and the Vim Financial Group are the best partners. If you need any help, please don't hesitate to ask. Jing Ba at the side smiled bitterly and said, "A human has offended the third miss. That human seems to have a special relationship with the Heavenly Estate Financial Group. We can't deal with him." "Human. Heavenly Estate Financial Group." The dog-headed man was stunned. He looked in the direction of the Heavenly Estate Financial Group and saw Lu Shi talking to Lu Yuan. He had a strange expression on his face as he said, "Miss Bersha. Could it be the human who spoke to Lu Shi?" Upon hearing his words, Bersha and the Jing Ba were both stunned. "Mao Si, you know him?" Jing Ba asked. "I know, Black Knight, Lu Yuan. This human has been quite famous in this area recently. I didn't expect him to offend Miss Bersha. He really don't know what's good." Black Knight, Lu Yuan. Jing Ba furrowed his brows. He's actually made a name for himself. How is that possible? Why is it impossible? That human was already able to kill the black-striped snake, so his strength wasn't bad. Of course, his strength isn't the key. The most important thing is that he can kill hundreds of fierce beasts every day. It's also because of this that he is well known. Killing hundreds of beasts every day. In the Sandcliff underground palace. This is impossible. When Bersha heard this, she immediately objected. He was just in Grey Stone Forest a few days ago. In such a short period of time, he could actually kill hundreds of fierce beasts in the Sandcliff underground palace every day. He was still in Grey Stone Forest a few days ago. Hearing this, Mao Si narrowed his eyes and looked at Lu Yuan. Some people have been speculating that Lu Yuan's rate of improvement is very fast and that he might have just awakened. Now that I've heard Miss Bersha's words, I'm almost certain. I'm afraid this human is a very powerful genius. A very powerful genius. Hearing this, Bersha gritted her teeth and looked at Lu Yuan with a cold expression. When she heard that her enemy's talent was better than hers, she was particularly dissatisfied at this moment. Seeing Bersha's expression, Mao Si's eyes flashed and he laughed, "Miss Bersha, it's not convenient to make a move on Lu Yuan now that he's so close with Lu Shi. However, he'll leave after the remains are over. It won't be too late to make a move then. What about the Heavenly Estate Financial Group?" Jing Ba furrowed his brows. "Don't worry. I don't think he came with the people from the Heavenly Estate Financial Group. He came with a few ordinary human genetic warriors. When that time comes, they probably won't leave together. Hearing this, Bersha's eyes lit up and she smiled. Good. It's decided. He actually dared to attack me, I must kill him. Lu Yuan and Lu Shi had not chatted for long when white light suddenly appeared on the patterns on the bronze door. Everyone was alarmed by the change in the bronze door. They looked in the direction of the gate. The smile on Lu Shi's face disappeared and was replaced with a serious expression. The ruins are about to open. A sword appeared in Lu Yuan's hand. Grim also held his shield tightly. Zhuoming swallowed his saliva nervously and also held his long sword tightly. At this moment, everyone was waiting for him. For a moment, the original noise disappeared, and the atmosphere was very quiet. The white light on the bronze door followed the patterns, as if an invisible hand was drawing a complicated pattern on the door. It didn't take long for the entire gate to be covered in patterns. Crack. The bronze door automatically opened. Beyond the gate was a gray rocky land. The land extended into the distance, and there was no end in sight. On the ground, there was a gray white stone tower. It was the only building on the flat rocky land. Looking through the door, they saw the stone tower. Many people widened their eyes and held their breath. Lu Shi revealed a surprised smile and said, I didn't expect it to be a trial-type ruin. Trial ruins. Lu Yuan did not know much about the remains. There are a few types of ruins, exploration type, trial type, slaughter type, and so on. Of all the remains, the trial-type remains are the safest. In other types of remains, you may encounter opponents far beyond your strength, but in the trial ruins, the opponents you meet are determined by your strength. Look at the stone tower inside the gate, that should be the Tower of Trials. A Tower of Trials is a typical trial-type ruin. We're quite lucky. Lu Shi's face was filled with joy. Hearing Lu Shi's explanation, Lu Yuan was delighted. In that case, the chances of obtaining treasures would be much higher. Not only Lu Yuan and the rest, but almost everyone revealed a look of surprise. I've earned it this time. Go in. Begin the trial. One after another, the genetic warriors rushed toward the gate. Brother Lu Yuan. Lu Shi said. Come, let's go in as well. Lu Yuan nodded and entered the ruins with the others. He looked around. Other than the stone tower, there were no other buildings. The gray land extended into the distance, and the space was unknown. However, from the entrance of the ruins, it was impossible to see such a large space inside. This was the magical thing about the ruins. The group came to the bottom of the stone tower. The door of the stone tower was open, and there was a white light flashing inside, so they couldn't see the inside. Everyone looked at the stone door that was flashing with white light and hesitated. At this time, a hound-head man with a giant axe on his back sneered and said, If no one dares to go in, then I'll be the first to go in. He took down his giant axe and stepped into the stone gate. Lu Shi looked at the dog-headed people who had entered and said, This is Iron Axe, come on. He's very strong and I heard that he's the first instructor of the dog-headed people's military in real life. He's an iron-blooded person and has always been hostile to us humans. Brother Lu Yuan, you're a genius. I'm afraid this hound-head man will target you. Lu Yuan frowned slightly when he heard this. He had felt that the dog-headed man had ill intentions towards him. So this was the reason. So be it, I'm not that easy to deal with. Lu Yuan smiled. Ha ha ha, if you join our Heavenly Estate financial group, we'll help you. Lu Shi still did not forget to pull Lu Yuan into his team. Lu Yuan smiled and refused. After Kaman entered without any mishaps, the others followed suit. Brother Lu Yuan, I'm going in too. Lu Shi said to Lu Yuan with a smile and entered the stone door. Brother Yuan, let's go in too. Zhuoming's face had a trace of eagerness, and his eyes were full of anticipation. Lu Yuan smiled. Yes. Good luck. He also stepped into the trial pagoda. Chapter 49. Moonstone Dew, Elite Trial. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 49. Moonstone Dew, Elite Trial. After entering the stone door, Lu Yuan appeared on a gray-white rocky land. At the same time, a loud voice rang out in the sky. Participant Shi 9201, welcome. The Stone Moon Tower trial is about to begin, you have 30 seconds to prepare. The Stone Moon Tower. Was this the name of the gray-white stone tower? It was said that many of the ruins in the land of origin were left behind by destroyed civilizations. Perhaps this was also left behind by some civilization. Lu Yuan looked around curiously. He found that the situation here was similar to the outside. There was nothing but rocks and earth. 30 seconds passed by quickly. The trial begins. Current level 1. As the voice sounded, the grayish-white rock in front of Lu Yuan suddenly condensed into a 1.8-meter grayish-white stone man. It looked a little like a small stone person, but it was much more exquisite than the small stone person, and it even had its own face. Lu Yuan clenched his heavy sword and looked at the gray-white stone man vigilantly. He didn't know much about the trial, and he wasn't too sure about the strength of the stone man in front of him, so he naturally treated him with the most serious attitude. After the gray-white stone man appeared, it growled and rushed toward Lu Yuan. Please reading. On freewebnovel.com. The grayish-white stone man was not light. When his feet stepped on the rocky ground, they made a dull sound. Lu Yuan raised his eyebrows. Its speed was very slow. The gray-white stone man rushed to Lu Yuan, clenched his fist, and waved it at Lu Yuan. Who? His fist brought with it a strong wind as it struck towards Lu Yuan's face. Its strength was about the same as a small golem with a 10% degree of refinement. Lu Yuan took a step to the side, and his heavy sword cut through the air, cutting the neck of the gray-white stone man. Clang! Crack! The heavy sword fell, and cracks appeared on the gray-white rock. Then, the entire gray-white rock man's neck shattered. As the stone man's head fell, his body also fell with a loud bang. Level 1 trial passed. Reward: 1 drop of Moonstone Dew. The gray-white stone man's body disappeared, leaving a drop of white liquid that flashed with a silver light floating in the air. Lu Yuan caught the Moonstone Dew. He discovered that the spiritual dew was condensed into a ball, as if it was wrapped in a transparent layer of sugar. The information about the land of origin appeared in Lu Yuan's mind immediately. The Moonstone spiritual dew was a cultivation resource. Compared to spiritual crystals, the spiritual power contained in the Moonstone spiritual dew was gentler and easier to absorb. If too many spiritual crystals were absorbed at one time, one's genetic chain would collapse. Although Moonstone Dew could be found, the amount he required was much more than spiritual crystals. Moreover, the Moonstone Spirit Dew could nourish the body and heal injuries. If used in large quantities, it could increase the physical defense. Lu Yuan's eyes lit up when he saw the first function of the Moonstone Dew. One must know that he could absorb spiritual crystals at an extremely fast speed. If he could absorb it without limit, he could reach 100% in a very short time and then start breaking the genetic lock. However, his genetic chain's endurance made it impossible for him to do so. He didn't expect to find a Moonstone Dew that could be absorbed in large quantities and refine one's genetic chain. If he had a large amount of Moonstone Dew, he would be able to break through in the shortest amount of time. Lu Yuan consumed the drop of Moonstone Spirit Dew at once. According to the information given by the land of origin, the Moonstone Dew could be consumed directly. After consuming the Moonstone Spirit Dew, it immediately turned into wisps of gentle energy and integrated into Lu Yuan's body. Lu Yuan could also feel that his genetic chain was being tempered rapidly. Unfortunately, the spiritual power contained in the Moonstone Spirit Dew was about the same as a spiritual crystal. Lu Yuan didn't have any special feelings for now. Participant 119201, do you wish to proceed with the level 2 trial? If you refuse, you will leave the Stone Moon Tower. I accept. Lu Yuan's eyes lit up. He needed large amounts of moonstone spiritual dew to improve his cultivation. Could he not accept it? The trial begins. Current level. 2-inch on the gray-white land. The gray-white stone men appeared again, but this time, there were 10 of them. After the 10 whitish-gray stone golems appeared, they growled and charged at Lu Yuan again. Lu Yuan also rushed forward with his heavy sword. The gray-white stone man was not strong. It could not even break Lu Yuan's defense. For Lu Yuan, the difficulty of this trial was very low. Very quickly, Lu Yuan had killed the 10 whitish-gray stone golems. This time, Lu Yuan obtained 10 drops of moonstone spiritual dew. He immediately absorbed the moonstone dew. The stronger they were, the higher the level of the trial they could pass, and naturally, the greater the rewards. For other people, they would need to find a quiet place outside to absorb the moonstone dew. However, this thing was gentler and easier to absorb than the spiritual power of spiritual crystals. Naturally, Lu Yuan could absorb it directly on the spot. After absorbing the moonstone dew, Lu Yuan started the level 3 trial. This time, there were 100 of them. A large number of grayish-white stone men were densely packed and charged towards Lu Yuan together. It even felt like an army of thousands of soldiers and horses was charging. Even if a genetic warrior with a higher strength were to stand in front of them, they would still feel their scalps go numb. Lu Yuan smiled. His defense was strong, so he didn't have to worry about his safety. As long as his spiritual energy could maintain his combat skills, the whitish-gray stone golems of this level would not pose any threat to him no matter how many of them there were. Would Lu Yuan lack spiritual power? He now had a large pile of spiritual crystals in the warpaint space, so he would not lack spiritual energy at all. After spending some time, Lu Yuan killed 100 whitish-gray stone golems and obtained 100 drops of moonstone spirit dew. Lu Yuan quickly absorbed all 100 drops of moonstone spirit dew. At this time, he could finally feel the difference between moonstone spirit dew and spiritual crystals. If it were spiritual crystals, he would be a little bloated after absorbing 100 of them in a row. However, he didn't feel anything when he absorbed the moonstone dew. Lu Yuan's smile grew brighter. Not enough. Not enough, more. It has been detected that participant 119201 has passed the level 3 trial and has obtained the qualification to open the elite trial. Do you want to open it? Lu Yuan was stunned. The 4th trial was different. The elite trial. There should be some differences from the current trial. The things he obtained should also be better. However, he didn't know if he would be able to obtain more moonstone dew. If this normal trial continued, there would be about 1,000 gray stone people next. That was 1,000 drops of moonstone dew. It was quite a lot. Even if the degree of refinement was higher and the amount of spiritual energy needed to continue refinement would be higher, 1,000 drops of moonstone spirit dew would still be able to increase his cultivation by a lot. And there was no danger. To Lu Yuan, it was a very safe way to improve. If he didn't have the moonstone dew in the elite trial, then his hopes of quickly increasing his cultivation would be dashed. There might even be fatal dangers in the elite trial. If he died, he would have to leave the land of origin, and all his gains would be gone. Of course, the elite trial might also have moonstone dew or even better treasures. Lu Yuan was a little conflicted. He hesitated for a moment, and the voice in the sky reminded Lu Yuan to make a choice again. Lu Yuan took a deep breath. Activate. Compared to stability, Lu Yuan still intended to take a risk. It was just like the treasure chest he had encountered in the gray stone forest. Only after a gamble did he know if it would work. If you don't force yourself, you'll never know how outstanding you are. Beep. Participant 119201, activating the elite trial. A cry sounded in the sky. At the same time, in the ruins outside the Stonemone Tower. At this moment, there were already quite a few genetic warriors who had withdrawn from the trial. To an ordinary genetic warrior, 10 grayish-white stone people might be able to deal with them. However, the difficulty of killing 100 whitish-gray stone golems was too high. To be able to kill 100 whitish-gray stone golems, he must be a powerhouse who could do well in the underground palace. His degree of refinement must be at least 60% or more. With a flash of white light, Zhuoming appeared in front of the Sherman Tower. Zhuoming's teammate, the golden-haired youth, walked over and said in a low voice, "Zhuoming. You came out alive. How was it? How many levels have you passed?" Zhuoming looked around and replied in a low voice, "2." The golden-haired youth's eyes lit up. He smiled and said, "Sure. 11 drops of moonstone dew. 10 drops. I used 1 drop in the level 2 trial and found that it was really useful. The healing effect is stronger than normal healing potions, and it can also speed up the recovery of spiritual energy. If I didn't use 1 drop, I would have a hard time passing level 2. Me too, the golden-haired youth grinned. The moonstone dew is a combination of healing potions and spiritual potions. It's like we have 10 more lives. As expected of a historical site, there's actually such a good thing here. It's worth the trip. Of course. Zhuoming's face was filled with excitement. He then sighed. Sigh. What a pity. If only I was stronger. If I could pass the level 3 trial, I would have 100 drops. His eyes turned red as he spoke. The golden-haired young man looked around and said, "Brother Yuan can definitely pass level 3. I just don't know if Captain can do it. Brother Yuan will definitely have no problem. He was too powerful. Captain. I think there's hope. That gray-white stone man is about the same as the small stone man. With Captain's strength, although it's a bit difficult to fight against 100 of them, there's still hope of winning with the addition of the moonstone dew." Just as the two of them were talking, a vast voice resounded within the ruins. Participant 119201, starting the elite trial. Everyone who had been quietly discussing their harvest fell silent, their eyes wide as they looked at the stonemason tower in shock. The elite trial. There's actually such a trial. Zhuoming said in shock. The golden-haired youth was also a little shocked. After the level 2 trial, it's the level 3 trial. Could it be that this elite trial is harder than level 3? It should be some big shot, right? To clear the level 3 trial so quickly and have the confidence to activate the elite trial, he must not be an ordinary person. Zhuoming's words made the golden-haired youth nod. The two of them had a look of longing. How good would it be if they were this strong? He wondered how much he would gain. Chapter 50. Chieftain Grade Geno Equipment, Huge Upgrade. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 50. Chieftain Grade Geno Equipment, Huge Upgrade within the Stonemone Tower. After the announcement from the sky, the elite trial began. On the gray-white land in front of Lu Yuan, stone men appeared again. However, this time, the stone golems were no longer gray-white, but a dark gray. After the stone man appeared, he clenched his fists and hit his chest. Then, he roared and stomped on the ground. Thump. The ground exploded as he charged toward Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan's pupils shrank slightly. It's very fast. The speed of the dark gray stone man had almost reached the level of 50% of the degree of honing. Although it was still slightly inferior to Lu Yuan, it was much faster than the gray-white stone man in the normal trial. The dark gray stone man appeared in front of Lu Yuan and punched at him. The wind from the punch whistled, blowing Lu Yuan's hair. Lu Yuan slashed out with his heavy sword, clashing with the fist of the dark gray stone man. Boom. Please reading. On freewebnovel.com with a boom, cracks appeared on the fist of the dark gray stone man, and his body was sent flying. Lu Yuan felt the power of the dark gray stone man and heaved a sigh of relief. This attack was not weak, but the damage it could cause to Lu Yuan was very limited. Fortunately, this was the case. Otherwise, it would be a little difficult for him to break into the deeper levels. After confirming the strength of the dark gray stone man, Lu Yuan stepped forward with his sword. He attacked the stone man continuously and cut his head into pieces. Elite Level 1 Trial passed. Reward: 10 drops of Moonstone Dew. Lu Yuan's eyes lit up. There were actually 10 drops. This reward was 10 times that of a Level 1 normal trial. Then wouldn't Level 2 be even more? Participant 119201, do you wish to proceed with the Elite Level 2 trial? If you refuse, you will leave the Stone Moon Tower. Begin the trial. Lu Yuan agreed immediately. Just as Lu Yuan had expected, there were 10 dark gray stone golems in the Level 2 Elite trial. The combat power of 10 dark gray stone golems together was stronger than 100 gray stone golems. Lu Yuan spent a long time to kill them all. Elite Level 2 trial passed. Reward: 100 drops of Moonstone Dew and 1 drop of Moonstone Essence. There's something different. Lu Yuan's eyes lit up as he looked at the sky. A piece of Moonstone Spiritual Dew appeared, and in the center, there was a drop of silver liquid. Moonstone Essence. Lu Yuan placed the Moonstone Essence in his hand and received its information. The Moonstone Essence was the essence of the Moonstone Dew. Its effects were similar to the Moonstone Dew. It could increase one's cultivation and heal injuries. If used too much, it could also strengthen one's defense. However, the Moonstone Essence's effect was 100 times better than the Moonstone Dew. It wasn't just the effect of increasing cultivation base. The Moonstone Essence's healing effect was also extremely powerful, even more so than high-quality healing potions. Lu Yuan carefully put away the Moonstone Essence and did not use it directly. If this thing was used when one was seriously injured, it might be able to save one life. Lu Yuan then absorbed the 100 drops of Moonstone Spiritual Dew. At this moment, his honing had finally reached 41%. After absorbing the Moonstone Dew, Lu Yuan began the Level 3 Elite Trial. 100 dark gray stone golems appeared. Lu Yuan spent a lot of time and finally killed all of them. Although his defense was extremely strong and the damage caused by the dark gray stone golems was not high, the continuous battle of 100 dark gray stone golems still caused Lu Yuan to suffer serious injuries. He had to use that drop of Moonstone Essence to maintain his peak condition. He had passed the Elite Level 3 trial. This time, Lu Yuan received 1,000 drops of Moonstone Dew and 10 drops of Moonstone Essence. Lu Yuan absorbed the Moonstone Spirit Dew, and his tempering level reached 48%. Not only that, after absorbing more than 1,000 Moonstone Dew, Lu Yuan could clearly feel that his body had become stronger under the nourishment of the Moonstone Dew. His muscles, bones, and skin had all become tougher and more powerful than before. His defense had increased by nearly 10%, and his strength and speed had also increased. One had to know that this was not an improvement brought about by Lu Yuan's gene tempering. It was an additional improvement. This was the effect of the Moonstone Dew. After the Level 3 Elite Trial, there were no higher level trials as Lu Yuan had originally imagined. Instead, it was a Level 4 Elite Trial. Lu Yuan naturally chose to agree. The Level 4 Elite Trial's opponents were a total of 1,000 dark gray stone golems. Even an expert with an elite gene and a 100% refinement rate would feel weak in the face of so many dark gray stone golems. After all, to kill so many stone golems, it would consume too much spiritual power. How could a genetic warrior at the trainee level have so much spiritual energy? 1,000 dark gray stone golems charged at Lu Yuan, and the ground shook under their feet. Lu Yuan was even a little worried that he would be trampled to death by them. Fortunately, Lu Yuan realized that as his refinement continued to increase, his own defense ability had increased in addition to the Moonstone Spirit Dew. At this moment, when he used the black iron body, the dark gray stone man could not even break through Lu Yuan's defense. This made Lu Yuan happy. He did not care about his own defense at all. He kept swinging his sword, killing the dark gray stone golems one by one. When he used up too much spiritual power, he would absorb spiritual crystals to recover his spiritual power. Lu Yuan had the same feeling he had when he fell into the ant nest. He waved his sword until he was numb. After an unknown period of time, the last dark gray stone man was killed by Lu Yuan. The voice in the sky rang out. You have passed the level 4 elite trial. 100 drops of Moonstone Essence. Geno equipment. Moonstone. In front of Lu Yuan, there were 100 drops of silver Moonstone Essence and a moon-white crescent stone. The moon-white crescent stone was flashing with a dark green light. Lu Yuan's eyes were immediately attracted by the dark green light, and his face was full of shock. Green. Is that a chieftain-class Geno weapon? Elite-class Geno equipment glowed green, while chieftain-class ones glowed green. An elite Geno weapon was already very valuable. For example, the beetle claw sword in Lu Yuan's hand was still very useful even though his tempering level was already more than 40%. He had killed over 10,000 beasts in the underground palace, but he had not gotten an elite Geno weapon. One could only imagine how precious elite-grade equipment was. He didn't expect to be rewarded with a chieftain-class Geno weapon. The surprise came too quickly. He even suspected that he was dreaming. The rewards of a level 4 elite trial were so rich. Lu Yuan quickly kept the item. The land of origin transmitted the information of the Moonstone into Lu Yuan's mind. Moonstone. This is a coat of arms Geno weapon. You only need to store it in your gene strands. It doesn't need to be materialized to take effect. This Moonstone's effect was to increase the physical strength of the body in all aspects. Moreover, it also had a special Moonstone protection ability. Moonstone Guard was a defensive ability that could block mental attacks and protect the master's mind. It was able to protect one's spirit, and it was a very powerful defensive ability. After all, it was the special ability of a chieftain-class Geno weapon. Unfortunately, Lu Yuan felt that he might not be able to use it. How could a genetic warrior at the trainee level know how to use a spiritual attack? It was too ridiculous. In contrast, the all-round physical strength improvement made Lu Yuan very surprised. With a thought, he wanted to keep the Moonstone in his body. However, as soon as he absorbed it, Lu Yuan felt a sharp pain in his body. He quickly stopped. Is this a chieftain-level weapon? It actually had such a high requirement for the physical body. Even though my refinement is already close to 50%, I still can't enhance it. He exhaled and thought, I have to continue cultivating. Luckily, I still have 100 drops of Moonstone Essence. Lu Yuan looked at the 100 drops of silver liquid in the air and smiled. I'll absorb it now. Lu Yuan started to absorb the Moonstone Essence. 1 drop, 10 drops, 20 drops. The spiritual power contained in the Moonstone Essence was 100 times more than that in the Moonstone Dew. As Lu Yuan absorbed it, the rich and vast spiritual power quickly refined his gene strands. In the white mist inside his body, the gene chain was getting brighter and brighter. 50%, 55%, 60%. After Lu Yuan absorbed 71 drops of Moonstone Essence, his body began to feel a tingling sensation. His body could no longer absorb spirit energy. Even the Moonstone Essence's gentle spiritual power could not be absorbed limitlessly. The 71 drops of moonstone essence were equivalent to 7,100 drops of moonstone spirit dew, which was equivalent to the spiritual power of more than 7,000 spiritual crystals. If he were to absorb it according to the spiritual crystals, Lu Yuan would need about 10 days to finish absorbing it. And now, it had only taken a few minutes. With such a vast amount of spirit force, even if Lu Yuan had carved an elite transcendent gene, the spirit force required to refine the gene chain was several times more than that of ordinary genes. However, the degree of refinement was still raised to 74%. With the increase in the refining degree, Lu Yuan's body was much stronger than before. A vast power surged out of Lu Yuan's body. It was far more powerful than before.